Just in case Melinda or I say anything intelligent, no promises made there.
No promises.
No promises. Good afternoon, Melinda Elmer.
Hello, Robert Hotel. How are you?
I am phenomenal, phenomenal. So, first of all, thank you so much for doing this. And for those of you that don't know, this is kind of a big deal that she's doing this because one thing that I've been working on, Melinda, for quite some time now is to say no more often. Because she's always such a great team player that if you ask her to do something, an interview, a mastermind, shadow her, she's just like, yes, yes. And I've been working, say no more often. But then it kind of potentially comes back to bite me when I want her to do something because then I'm like, oh man, what if she says no to me? so, and if she had, I would
It
have been
does happen too. I say no.
you do say no more often, and so I'm very proud of that. And if you had said no to me, I would have just clapped and went, yeah. But I'm glad that you still said yes. So I appreciate you being on here. So here's what we're gonna talk about today. So Melinda and I are gonna kind of do this a little bit interview style. And when I asked Melinda if she would do a class, the obviously it comes up with what topic should I talk about? And one of the things that I hear a lot from agents, from coaching agents, and going around to the different offices is scheduling for a variety of reasons. Oh, I've got the kids, or, I've got the spouse, or gosh, I'm trying to do my gym work at this time, but then it gets me off track in the morning, or all these other types of things going on. I hear that a lot. And so with Melinda, I thought, wow, that's a really perfect topic for you because I know because we have accountability, you and I, that you do the fitness, you have a son, young son, you have a spouse, you do go on lots of fun, do lots of fun things, and still manage to do massive production and real estate with all those things. So I figured there's no one better to have that conversation than you. So thank you for allowing us to pick your brain on this, number one.
Sure thing.
So before we get started on that, just give a quick little Reader's Digest version of who you are so everyone knows a little bit more if they don't already know you.
Sure. I'm Melinda Elmer. I am located in the Long Beach office. So if you have any referrals for Long Beach, I will take great care of them for you. And I've been in the business for this is my 22nd year in the business. And when I first got into real estate, I knew no one in my area. I worked in the theater beforehand. I was a theatrical stage manager, and all I knew was starving artists. So I had to get out and meet people from scratch, and just started getting out and meeting people.
There you
Um,
go.
and I've been with Century. I think my 10-year anniversary with Century 20 Masters was like last week. So
Yeah.
been with Masters for 10 years now.
Yes. And we are very, very fortunate and lucky to have you for that 10 years and hopefully many more years longer, or at least as long as I'm
That's right. And
here.
I do have a great, amazing, awesome team. Angie is, I think she's on this call as well. And then she's my director of operations. And then Rochelle works with us. She's our buyer's agent. And we have a transaction coordinator.
Okay, great. And what is so far on track this year? What are you tracking to close?
I should be about 65 transactions for the year.
Which would be what kind of GCI?
Should be right around 1 million for this year.
Yeah. Okay. Great job. Great job. Great job. Yeah, we're gonna get to that million mark. I say we as if I'm a part of it, but yeah, we're gonna get to that million mark this year. So great job. But what's interesting, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was gonna bring up the team is, the question for somebody like you is always, oh, well, how many people does she have working for her? It's one assistant and one buyer's agent. And,
Angie is definitely more than just an assistant. Like you hear the word assistant, and I think somebody who just does copies and answers the phone. She does much more than that. But
yeah, of course.
but
To the general public, it would be
yes,
hiring help.
correct.
Yes.
Having help is really important for sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. Perfect. Cool, cool, cool. All right, yeah, no, you do a lot of great things. I want to ask one question though before we jump into our topic today, because I always think this is a fun story. You were in theater. What made you get your real estate license?
He knows the story, so that's why he asks.
I do.
So when I wanted to buy a house really badly, and I even think I talked to a lender. This is a little fuzzy at this point, but I talked to a lender, and they told me I qualified for $212,000 or $250,000. Now, in 2000, you could still buy a house for $200,000. It may not have been the greatest neighborhood. It may have been in really rough shape. I didn't care. I wanted to buy a house. And it was probably a Century 21 agent, in fact, but not our company. And I think I met them at the mall kiosk, and they brought me into the office, and I met with them, and they said, "You need to buy a condo." And I said, "I don't want to buy a condo. I want to buy a house so that I can have a garden and a dog and all of these things." And they said, "No, you really need to buy a condo." And so immediately I was out of rapport with them, right? Because they were telling me what I should do instead of asking me questions. And so instead, I left that meeting and I started going on HUD websites. It was Golden Feather for any of those of you who are long enough, been around long enough, maybe Josie, to remember those websites. And I would look on the HUD websites, but I couldn't make offers on properties unless I had a license. So what did I do? I called real estate offices and I said, "I want to get my license. What do I do?" I called probably 15 offices at the time. Two called me back. And I signed up with one of them to take my real estate license test. Took it while I was working my day job, which was from midnight. I'm from 12 o'clock to midnight every day, and then passed my test. Then did both for a little while, and as soon as my first check cleared, I quit my other job.
So it took an incompetent agent for you to go get your real estate license.
It did. Yep.
And
It took
financially
5 years for me to be able to buy a house, but you know, I did it in 5 years. And it was a much
and,
better house than the one that I would have purchased.
there you go. There you go. And financially it's been a little bit more lucrative than the theater.
I remember calling Mike Ferry when I got my first $30,000 check because that was how much I used to make in a year. And I was super excited about it. I was like, Mike, I just got paid what I used to get paid in an entire year. So that was fun.
There you go. There you go. All right, good stuff. So for those of you, the moral of the story, if you don't take care of your clients with great customer service, they will go get their real estate license and beat you. So, just take care of them so they don't do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Uh,
sure that
uh
agent is no longer in the business. So
oh, probably not, but what are you gonna do? All right, good stuff. Okay, so let's jump into this. So you already mentioned, we've already talked about production. You're obviously doing big numbers in production, a lot of that coming from your own business, but you're married
mhm.
and you have a son. How old is your son?
He just turned 6.
Just turned 6, Caden.
Hmm.
Okay, so you have a 6-year-old son, you have a spouse. You take now, do you go out? Do you do weekend getaways? You have any fun?
All the time. Um, on on weekends, we're generally doing something. Like this weekend, we have two birthday parties on Sunday, and on Saturday, we have something with Cub Scouts, and then I have an attorney event that I'm going to. But it's at the beach, so I'm bringing my son.
Oh,
Um, so we have a bunch of fun activities. We're going to be going to Hawaii in about 2 weeks for a week, and going to go stay at the Disney Resort, have some fun there, and then we have a Disney cruise that we've been planning for about 2 years that we're excited to go on as well for Halloween.
and in a midst of all that, numerous weekend camping trips.
Yes, we have a camping trip coming up in September, and my fourth degree black belt test is coming up in September as well.
So that was going to be my other thing because we're talking about also fitness. So elaborate on that. You are what degree of black belt?
I'm testing for my fourth degree black belt. So I've
Okay.
been doing Taekwondo for 31 years.
Right. And you work out, do your exercises on a daily basis?
One question. How old
Yeah,
are you?
I am 49.
Okay, thank
Think
you.
about that for a second.
And doing fitness every morning.
Correct.
Yeah.
My mom passed away at 57. So that number is getting much closer. And my mom always struggled with health issues. She was always overweight. She was always dieting. I remember that as a kid. And she had breast cancer and lupus. And so I have spent a lot of time studying like health and learning how to be healthier. And I struggle with the same genetics my mom has. I always feel like I'm a little bit heavier than I'd like to be. And so I've really spent a lot of time. Part of my fourth degree black belt is mastery. I get it. I get to be called Master Elmer when I pass that test. So I've obviously put a lot of thought into what mastery means. And for me, part of that testing also means having mastery over my body and discipline. And
Mhm.
so part of that has been, it's all kind of tied into with my mom's passing, because when she passed, there was a number of things that I said to myself. I was working crazy hours back then. She passed away in 2007, 2008. And I was working 14 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and really, just kept saying, someday I'll do that, someday I'll do that, someday I'll that. And I was married to a different person at that time. And they were having a lot more fun than I was. They were going and doing stuff on the weekends, and I was working my butt off and showing property at 7, 8 o'clock at night and starting at 7 o'clock in the morning and doing all these things. And her passing was actually probably the biggest gift that it gave me. It made me take a hard look at who I was with, first of all, and also what I wanted out of life, and who I wanted to be. And I decided that I didn't want to wait until someday to do all these things, because someday
Mhm.
may come. And
Sure.
um, so not to be super heavy, but like embrace life, right? It's not all about working. And I work because I want to have fun, and I want to have a great life for my son and my family. And I, but it doesn't matter if all I do is work all the time. So, there's no such thing as balance. I spend a ton of time working still. But with that being said, it's also important to me to have that priority of um, being available for my son, and I take him to school 3 days a week now. So I get to take him to school 3 days a week, and I love doing that. Um,
Mm.
and all of those things are things that are important to me. I don't ever remember my dad taking me to school. I would have loved to have my dad take me to school when I was a kid, right? He was the one who left to go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he'd get home at 8 o'clock at night. I think that's where I got my work ethic from. But
Yeah.
with all of that, that health portion of it became really important too. And I saw, that I had gained a little bit of weight. I was actually 245 pounds 6 months after my son was born. Um, for those of you who've breastfed, man, you are so friggin' hungry all the time when you are trying to make milk for your child. And I ate a ton of food, and mostly I wanted pasta and lasagna. And I gained more weight then in that 6 months than I had during my entire pregnancy. So I really focused on starting, and I had to start, and this was during COVID. So I started small. Back then I said, you know what, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. And this is where I hear a lot of people, they're like, I hear people at the retreat, right? I'm going to go home and I'm going to start getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning like you do. No, don't do that. What time do you get up now? I get up at 7. Okay, get up at 6:30. Get up at 6:45. Get up just 10 or 15 minutes earlier, right? So I started small. I got up 15 minutes earlier because I was super sleep deprived. and my son wouldn't sleep for more than 2 hours a night at a time until he was 3. So, but I got up 10 minutes earlier, and then I got up 15 minutes earlier, and then I got up 20 minutes earlier, and then I got up 30 minutes. So I just slowly bumped it out. And now I'm getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I didn't start there. So I started what was important to me. The important thing to me was getting up earlier so I had some time for myself, and so that I had time to work on what I wanted to work on, getting my 4th degree black belt, losing some weight, getting back in shape. And I did not want to be 240 pounds anymore. So right now I'm at 180 pounds. When my goal is to get to 165, and it's a work in progress. And the most exciting part over the last year has been that I've gained 10% muscle mass, which is even better. So trying to do it in a really healthy way. And that's what's important to me. That's why I get up in the morning. I want to live to be 120 years old. I want to be healthy. My son, when my son is 6, so when I'm 73, he's going to be 30, right? So I would love to be around for my grandkids, and I can't do that if I'm not healthy. So that's why I do that first thing in the morning. It's my time for me, and I prioritize that because that is ultimately, if my health isn't there, I have nothing, right?
Right.
We also just recently lost my mother-in-law who was living with us. She was with us for 7 months, and she was very, very sick. She had end-stage COPD, smoked for 40 years, and was just, as I watched her decline, another driving force for me was I do not want to die like that, right? So it just helps me get up in the morning. So at 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm going, oh, I really just want to sleep. Not only am I accountable to Robert and Jack, who we all text each other and say, I'm at the gym. Then I also have that very vivid picture of, I don't want to be like that when I'm dying. I want to be healthy. I want to drop like that or fall asleep die in my sleep, right? Quick.
Right. Nope. No, I
So
get it. I get it.
keep it as
No,
healthy as possible.
thank you for sharing. That is such a great story, and congratulations on the weight loss. And and I obviously, yes, as you said, you Jack and me and Jack have a text thread each morning, uh, encouraging ourselves to go do work out, because I had in the last couple of years done the same thing. I'm a little bit heavier than my normal weight, which, by the way, when you said the weight that you want to get down to, and I said the weight I want to get down to, when Jack mentioned the weight he wanted to get down to, I wanted to punch him through the phone because
I'm taller than Jack.
so, Melinda and I are like, yeah, I'm trying to get to this weight. Jack's like, yeah, I'm trying to get to this weight. And I'm just like, F you, and all. I love you, Jack, but oh my goodness.
What is the
So
saying? Comparison is the thief of all joy.
yeah.
It's all about your journey, Robert. About your journey.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you sharing that. And it is a great point because, I've always gotten that as well, getting up so early, because I get up at 3, and people say, oh my gosh, how do you get, and I tell them the same exact thing, Linda, is do 15 minutes earlier, do it for 5 days in a row. And then if you could do it for 5 days in a row, then do 15 minutes earlier, do that 5 days in a row, and then get to whatever time you want. So Jack says I have small
That's small
bones.
bone.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was not chubby. I was fat as a kid. And I remember the doctor saying, oh, he's got big bones. I'm like I'm a dinosaur or something. Let's just call it what it is, doc. Anyways, we're off track. So, but what I wanted to do is I really wanted to paint a picture of everything you have going on in your life, because with all that going on, the fitness, the health, the in-laws, the personal touch with your mom, driving your kid to school, the black belts, the vacations, with all that going on, you're still going to hit $1 million in production this year.
Right.
So walk us through a little bit of what is your daily. You kind of walked us through the fitness part in the morning. From a work standpoint, what does that schedule look like?
So it's changing a little bit again right now because we just changed school schedules and schools. Now my son's going to a different school. But as we go into the new school year, I'm going to drop 3 days a week. I'm going to drop off my son at 8, and then I'm going to head into the office. I role play from 7:30 to 8. I have a part of a role play group that does that. So I've been doing that from home as that schedule's been changing, and then bringing my son to school. A couple of the weekdays the week I'm in the NLP class with Mike Ferry, and I have a networking meeting on Tuesdays, but otherwise I'm here in the office Monday through Friday. I don't work well from home because partially for obvious reasons, because I have a child who would walk in when he's not from school, and it makes it really hard to talk on the phone when he wants my attention. So I'm here at the office, and then I come in, I do my prospecting. I do some return phone calls, get back to text messages, and sometimes do some contracts in the morning as well. If we get an offer on, especially with the market shifting right now, the goal is to get the offers out as quickly as possible to people, because frankly, sometimes buyers get cold feet like that. I want them to feel like we're paying attention. So
Hold on, let's stop there for a
yeah.
second. So just clarify that for everyone in here. So if you have a listing right now, typically you would move, you normally afternoon stuff, but right now, because of the market, you've changed that to where if you get an offer on your listing right now, you're responding to the buyer right away.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Correct. Because the buyers want to feel heard right now, and they have way too many choices. So if we wait, they could go away. So we're really trying to be extra communicative about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
The goal is to do money-making activities in the morning. So that includes accepting and negotiating contracts. And then in the afternoons, my goal is to be on appointments or doing some additional prospecting. I am working really hard to stay out of my transactions. I slip, and Angie is great about slapping my hand and telling me to get back to my job. That's one of her biggest parts of her job, is to say, get back to doing what you're doing and let me do what I need to do. Because I'm a control freak, self-admitted, and I jump back in way too often. And my goal also is to have lunch with someone who can bring me business during the week. So I have either, a big mover and shaker here in Long Beach. Like I had there's a nonprofit that I'm on the board for. I had a lunch with the director of that organization last week. I have a lunch with an attorney this week. I had a lunch with an attorney the following week. So I'm just trying to get out and meet more people. I loved at the retreat, Jean Tanner talking about having lunch with some of her top past clients. I try to invite them to some of the fundraisers or events that I go to that I think they might be interested in. So I'm trying to get out and do things that I would be doing anyway, but also bringing along important people, clients in my life as well to those kinds of events. So it's like I get to do the things that are important to me, but also bring the business into it as well, right?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Or is it a different time? Okay. You said you take people to lunch. Do you just call them up and say, "Hi, my name is this and that, and I would like to take you to lunch," or do you already know them?
No, these are all people I know. So they would all be sphere of influence or
Okay.
somebody I'm maybe trying to get to know better. So like attorneys are generally people I'm trying to get to know better. And so they are already familiar with me because I'm involved in a bunch of attorney organizations and events, and I'm targeting them for business, but they don't know me well, and I want to get to know them better. I want to get to know them better and how I can serve them better and how I can understand, what excites them, what activities are they involved in. Part of the
Okay.
reason I'm involved in some of the other things are because some of the attorneys are involved in those things too, right? And they've given me 6 or 7 deals. So let me scratch their back, right?
I have a question.
Sure.
How did you first make your connection with the attorneys? I mean,
The
right
first-
now you know them because you've been working with them for a long time. How did you get started with that? And what were the progressions? You did this, and then you did this, and then you did this.
So first, I've been a member of the Estate Planning and Trust Council here in Long Beach for probably 10 years. So,
What was that again? What's it called?
so every area has what's called an estate planning and trust council in general. And there are other attorney networking events. So that's estate planning attorneys and probate attorneys. There's a lot of real estate agents there too. There's also other periphery people, fiduciaries, things like that. But I would say it's like anything else. It's exposure and finding places where they hang out. So if you find that there's an attorney event somewhere, go be there, right? Ask to sponsor an event. They love your money. They will always take it. And then just show up and talk to people. Because that's ultimately what it is all about, right? It's just about talking to people. I have additional certifications that I've gotten over the years. That's not relevant or important right now. But the important thing is if you want to get out and meet attorneys or just mover shakers, the person I had lunch with this last week was the director of a theater that I'm on the board for. And I only know her a little bit. We've been trying to get together for a long time. We both have a theater background, and it was just a chance to get to know each other better. I didn't really bring up business a whole lot, and she asked me some questions about it. But there's a book by Keith Ferrazzi, Never Eat Alone, and it's a great book if you haven't had a chance to read it. And I figured I'm going to eat lunch anyway. So I might as well go eat lunch with somebody who may be able to connect me up with somebody else. And Jean Tanner talked about taking her past clients to lunch. So she doesn't take everybody to lunch, right? She's identified her top A-list clients that refer her business on a regular basis. Like she talked about one who's the head cardiologist at the hospital, and they're very well connected with the HR department. So anytime a new cardiologist comes in, then they refer them to Jean. So she's gotten 7, 8, 9, 10 referrals from this cardiologist. I would take that person to lunch too, right? So you look within your database. You don't necessarily have to add more people, but look within your database, look within your sphere of who you already know and who's already giving you referrals. Take them to lunch, see who they can connect you to, and things like that.
Okay, one last question. How did you get on a board? And how did you decide? How did that process happen?
That is easy. They are
She knows
so
Taekwondo. It was just she walked in, started smacking some people around, and next thing you know, she was on the board.
There are a ton of
Ha
nonprofit
ha.
organizations that need board members. So I would say if there's something you are passionate about, call up that nonprofit and say, I would like to volunteer to be on your board, and they will be happy to have you. So there's tons. I have to say no more often than I say yes.
Hmm.
Right?
How about that?
This particular board that I'm on is because an attorney said, hey, you have this background and this passion. I would like to have you be on our board. I said, okay, because she brings me a lot of business. So there you go.
There you go. Hey, so Melinda, great answer. So I want to jump into a little bit. One of the questions I wrote down here is, in your day, there's obviously a lot going on. You're having the lunches, you're doing all these other things. Are there anything from a work standpoint that no matter what have to get done every day?
Prospecting has to be done every day. It's not a
So
option.
what for you qualifies? Like, is it a certain number of contacts or a certain number of time that qualifies as prospecting got done today? Because I imagine that if you made 2 contacts, you would not count that as a prospecting day.
No, I would not count that as a prospecting
So
day.
what would you count that the bar minimum standard to count as a prospect? I prospected today.
20 contacts.
20 contacts. So if so every day you have to make at least 20 contacts to be considered I prospected today.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, what else? Other than, okay, prospecting, is there anything else that needs to be in the no matter what, this has to happen?
Lead follow-up.
What?
Okay, so you separate the two.
I do. I think I don't count my lead follow-up as prospecting. It's a different thing.
Okay,
For sure. For sure.
so prospecting, lead follow-up.
Lead
Yeah.
fo-
Well,
Okay.
and this month, because I'm gonna be on vacation, my goal right now is 6 listings and 6 sales. So I can only go 2 days without going on a listing appointment. So because my month is compressed.
Yep.
So right now I can't go more than 3 days without having a listing appointment.
Okay. So practice, do you practice every day?
I do practice every day.
Okay. So practice is an everyday, no matter what thing. Prospecting every day, no matter what, at least 20 contacts. Lead follow-up every day, no matter what.
Practico español, 5 minutos.
5 minutos, ¿sí?
And let's see.
For those of you that don't speak Spanish, that's 5 minutes working on her Spanish.
Minimum.
Aha. Kiana, we have to learn.
I've been doing that for 1,832 days in a row, I think, something like that.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. Great. So I asked that question because for those of you that are thinking, well, gosh, some days I only have a couple hours. Some days I only have this. What do I do? Well, you have to prospect every day. You got to lead generate. You got to practice. You got to do lead follow up. So if nothing else, that has to happen.
Right.
That has to happen. And that the reason I asked that question, Melinda, is because I get that from agents is they'll say, oh, no, like they do the 333 club, for example, right? And hopefully everyone's going to join that again on the 18th. They do the 333 club, which is prospecting 3 days. And like, oh, I prospected these 3 days. I made 2 contacts Monday and I made 4 calls on Wednesday. And it's like, yeah, okay. I don't know if I wouldn't classify that as a prospecting day. So that's why I asked you, what is the minimum standard? So for you is 20 contacts. Has
And
to
then
happen.
I have other things that I do throughout the week. So Thursdays and Fridays, I call all my current clients. And then on Wednesdays, I have my team meeting. On Tuesdays, I do my attorney outreach. And Mondays are I just call them offer writing days because that's usually offer writing Mondays, which is more of a shell, but I'm sometimes involved in the communication, the conversations there too.
Do you have appointment slots already put in the calendar?
I do, yes.
So what time are your appointment slots?
4 o'clock, 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock.
So 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock are set in the calendars. Those are listing appointment times.
Yeah. And again, it varies. Some days like this week, I had to do some of them earlier. So I have an appointment at 2:50. I have an appointment already set for 2:15 on Friday and one today at 4. So yeah.
Yes, Jack. Oh,
I
never mind.
accidentally pressed it. Sorry.
Oh, come on, man. Get it together. All right. So the appointment slots are already in there, which probably helps with the prospecting because you already know what slots to fill.
It does. When I coached with Mike Ferry, when I paid him a lot of money to do that, and he the first thing that he asked me to do, I had a calendar, like this is my calendar here, right? And I had a day at a glance, and he told me to get rid of that, and I had to get the week at a glance. And so at the week at a glance, now it actually gave me you would think that's so simple. Like Mike is the king of being simple. And because he said to me, well, where's your appointment slots? And I said, well, they're just in the afternoons. And he said, no, write them in there now and then work to fill them every day. And
Yep.
that, like, it's a very subtle, simple change, right? Like, you're like, oh, well, I'll just set appointments in the afternoon. No, put the appointments in your schedule and then work to fill them every day. Very different things. And
Yep.
And that was a big change. Like I have in my calendar on Fridays at noon, lunch with an attorney, because my goal is to have a lunch with an attorney on every Friday. I don't always fill it, but that's my goal. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking during the week, who do I need to fill in that slot this week? I actually have
Great.
lunch this week and next week booked already. So I, I'm looking ahead to that too. Right.
Great. So a couple other questions I had, then we can open up for any other Q&A. One of which is I know you are a control freak, as you said, and we've certainly worked on that, but you can't do everything that you're doing, right? And still manage your files. So other than the income generating activities, are you involved in anything else from an admin level?
So this comes to being coachable. I said to Tony Smith is my coach right now, and I said to him, "Oh, I have this going on with this file and this one." He goes, "Oh my God, you know way too much about your files." I went, "Oh, you're right. Okay." So it is always a work in progress. And Angie will probably say I'm always in the files, but I am really working hard to just focus on the things, because I talk to people. I talked to Jean Tanner yesterday, and she literally does nothing but prospect, learn every day. Like she reads books for like 45 minutes every day. And she goes on appointments, and she only goes on the appointments if she's 100% sure she's going to get the listing. Like, if not, she sends someone else on her team. So,
Yeah,
like, she is, and that's all she does. And she goes on 1 week vacations every month. I aspire to be like Jean Tanner, right?
sure.
I'm not there,
Yeah.
but like,
And what
there's always another level. But with that, my goal is definitely to continue to work on delegating more. We just hired a new admin person, so that will help. She starts in like 2 weeks. Yay. And so then I will hopefully feel less inclined to try to help out my admin team.
I have a question though.
well, hold on 1 second, Lydia. So, and what I would say to everyone else on the call who's, because I know this is going through some of your heads, I don't have a team.
Right.
So how do I delegate all of these things?
I have
Well,
a suggestion.
oh, go, Melinda Elmer.
Well, it starts with little things though. Like Robert asked me to speak on this, and last night I was sitting down going, "Oh, what am I going to write?" I said, "Robert, let's make this a interview format instead of me coming up with a whole like outline and presentation and all this other stuff. Let's do that." And he goes, "Okay." And it was a much easier dialogue for me than trying to come up with an hour's or 45 minutes worth of content. So in essence, I just kind of reframed, well, how can I do this smarter? Right. And before I had staff, I would actually probably be more strict with my schedule. I would say I'm prospecting from 9 to 11. Nothing else is disturbing me during that time. And then from 11 to 12, I can return phone calls and do admin. So the less help you have, the more, I think, the more tight you have to be with your schedule,
Yeah.
because if you are tighter with your schedule, then you have those allotted times. I did a 525-mile bike ride, and I had to train. Um, I rode from San Francisco to LA twice, and I had to train 4 days a week. I had to ride my bicycle. Saturdays I had to ride for like 7, 8 hours. Sundays I had to ride for 2, 3 hours. And then during the week I had to ride for 2, 3 hours a couple of days. That year, at that time, I had one part-time assistant, and I had to be done at a certain time so I could get all my training in. That year, I was super efficient. I did my prospecting from 9 to 11. I did return phone calls from 11 to 12. I ate lunch from 12, and everything was super regimented. So that schedule actually gave me freedom to be able to go do the fun things I wanted to do. I think the more that there's plenty of times when I'm wandering around, screwing around, doing stuff because I don't have to write up a listing contract, right? Or I don't have to I don't even know how to input a listing anymore. I have no idea. My Angie was out of the office for a couple of days last week, and I was like, I had to input a listing and I didn't know how. So I was like, okay. But that you're not there yet. Okay, you still know how to do that, but just schedule it in your day. And then that way you're not worrying about it for later. It's in your schedule. You'll know it'll happen at that particular time. It's when we get into reaction mode all the time and we're trying to constantly an agent calls you and you feel like you have to talk to them right that second. They can wait for 45 minutes. There is, Mike Ferry used to say all the time, there's nothing that could happen before noon that can't wait until then. If the deal's going to fall apart before noon, it's going to fall apart. There's nothing you can do about it that's probably going to save it in that hour or two at that time.
No, and that's great advice, is time block everything. If you want to fit everything into a schedule, you can't take 12 hours to do an 8-hour day. And that's where I think a lot of people fall short is, oh my gosh, well, how do you do this? I'm working all these hours. It's like, yeah, but are you working efficiently? And if you time block everything the way that you just said, you can accomplish everything. The other thing I would say for those of you, again, that don't have an assistant and you're going, well, how do I delegate all these things? Well, you have a TC, for example. So here's a great test for everyone here that has a TC. Ask your TC what they are capable of doing, and then ask yourself, is there anything on that list that I'm still doing? Because I'll bet there's a few things that your TC says they can do that you're still doing. Or if an agent has, or if a client has a lending question, why are they calling you first for then you to call the lender? Why don't you train them to call the lender first? Train them to call the escrow officer first. Train them to call the title rep first. You got to get yourself out of some of these situations. So great stuff. So look, we're at 1 o'clock. But if Melinda, if you have just another quick minute, one of the questions I had now is putting together the schedule. So when you're putting together your schedule and you have all this stuff going on, what goes in the schedule first? What's the order of which? Is it business first and then you fill the fitness around it, the family? Is it like what's the order of going into the schedule?
My personal stuff is first, 100%.
So your family stuff with the kids, Caden, Christy, things like that, that all goes first.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to show him something that you told me not to show him, but I'm going to show him anyway.
God damn it.
So this is my calendar on the wall.
Oh, nice.
So that's my year at a glance calendar.
You're at a glance. Okay.
So, again, Jean Tanner, she has a big calendar that she puts that's on the wall that has all of her fun stuff on there first. And I thought, I like that because I do well with like seeing what's coming and what's happening. Because one year I went on like 7 vacations in one year and they were all kind of like right back up against each other. And it was actually too much. It caused me more stress to go on the vacations because I wouldn't get enough momentum when I'd come home to actually relax on the vacations. So this actually helps me. So now I've learned I need to have at least like 3 months in between my big vacations where I'm going out of the country and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it stresses me out. So this actually helps me to see, hey, okay, we want to do this trip here and we want to do this trip here, but I need to have another gap in between before, and I can visualize that. I have like all my son's school events for the whole calendar year, pretty much for next year already in here. I actually plan haircuts like way in advance. One year I booked all my haircuts like a whole year in advance and my hairstylist loved it. We only had to move 1 or 2, but like you can plan all that stuff well in advance. My workout schedule is the same, so that really doesn't change. But that's all in there first. And then work is when work is. It's like if I had to go to a job where they were paying me, then I would go to that job at that time, right? So my goal is, I'm not always perfect at this. At the end of the day, my goal is to leave here and be home by 5:30. I'm not far from perfect from that. I'll get a phone call at 5:30 or 5:25 and I'll get on it for 20 minutes and not get home till 6. But that's my goal. So I give myself permission that it's okay for me to go home at 5:30, right? Or 5 o'clock. And
And what about answering phone calls? What's the last time that you'll take a call?
my phone goes on do not disturb at 8 o'clock. But generally speaking, at 7:30, we go upstairs with, bedtime routines and all that stuff. And at that point, I'm really generally not answering my phone. Like I had an appointment today at 1:30 that actually got moved to Friday. I responded to that guy because he said, "Hey, can we move it to Friday?" I said, "Yes." But like in most other cases, Angie does actually respond to messages and stuff after till about 7. But unless it's like super urgent, it's going to be dealt with tomorrow.
Great. Great. Great, 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 great. Okay, we got time for maybe one or two questions because I want to be respectful. Anyone have any questions for Melinda before we let her go?
I had one a while back.
Go.
Go for
Go
it.
ahead.
Okay, you were going back to when you said, geez, now I hardly remember. It had something to do with you said, delegating other people to do everything, and somebody, Gene Tanner or someone, just does the appointments and this and that. Well, what I was thinking is something that happened to me before I was in real estate. Somebody doing that to me, and then sloughing me off to their assistant was bothersome, and I didn't want to work with them anymore because I felt like they were not involved in it, engaged with me, with my business, with the business, with whatever it was. And I'm
So a
afraid
lot of
that
that
might
comes,
happen.
yeah, a lot of that comes from not setting it up properly. So,
Okay.
when you go to the doctor, does the doctor greet you at the front desk?
No.
No.
And then when you go in, does the doctor weigh you?
No,
And do they take your blood pressure?
of course not.
No.
No.
So we run our office very much like a doctor's office. And
Okay.
so when you call into our office, we have a receptionist who answers the phone. We also have a director of operations who's going to be able to handle, she's worked with me for over 10 years now. So she is probably going to be able to answer most of the questions better than I can at this point because she is more intimately familiar with the files and what's going on there. My job as part of the team is to go out and find a buyer for your home and get a great price for your home and negotiate a great offer. And that's what you want me to spend my time doing, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Setting it up. That's, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep. Great. All right. Any other questions? We got one chance for one more.
Come on, Maria.
I have a question.
Go.
Hi, it's Lisa Joe. Just curious on why you do lunches with attorneys every Friday. I mean, I get the gist. I think it's because of divorces, or can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I do family law, high conflict family law sales, and also probate and trust high conflict sales as well. I do low conflict ones, but that's the specialty I promote to them. But I don't recommend that for everyone.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Yeah. No, and
Right.
I pick Fridays because Friday works for my schedule.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Melinda, any last parting thoughts on scheduling, fitting everything into one schedule to accomplish all the stuff with family, fitness, health, all those types of things that we didn't
Yes.
cover?
The biggest thing I would say is don't try to add everything all at once. Mike said this on the Mondays with Mike call this morning is don't change everything all at the same time. It's not going to work. So decide one thing in your schedule that's not working for you right now that you want to prioritize. What's the most important thing that you want to put in your schedule? And like Robert said, get up 15 minutes earlier, move something around, lock in that time, 15 minutes. Give yourself some grace. If you screw up 4 days in, start over, do it for another 5 days.
Yeah.
Don't be hard on yourself. I messed up all the time when, even the other day. Okay, Jack, Robert, sorry. Robert, Jack, and I all slept in the other day. We were tired.
True.
It happens, right? But 95% of the time, we are all up doing our things. But we're also human. And, I also walked 18,000 steps because I put on a giant block party on Sunday and my feet were killing me. I took the opportunity to sleep a little bit, right? So, so it's not about perfection. It's about progress and consistency in moving things forward. And yes, there's days that I have a cupcake or, totally blow my calories when I'm in Vegas and I ate, 3,000 calories in one day. But over the course of the whole week, I didn't do that every day. If I had, I would be going the opposite direction. So I was still very aware of what I was eating. I didn't drink. I made other choices. I still got up and went to the gym in Vegas. Right. So it's that consistency over time. That's why we can make 20 contacts a day and do 65 deals. Right. So it's consistency throughout everything we do, but we can't do it all at the same time. Pick one thing at a time to work on for the next 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. And
But I have a question real quick.
yeah.
If you don't, it's Doopy, by the way, Juno Hills. If you don't do your 20 contacts in the 3-hour time frame, because I give myself 3 hours every morning and start calling. And if I reach 12 or 13, would you advise to stop at the 3 hours or continue until you get your 20 contacts?
I would say it depends on your situation, right? Like if you're going to get contactitis and you're making crappy calls because you're just doing it to get through your calls, I would probably stop. But when I first started in this business, if I didn't sell a house, I was going to be out on the street.
Right.
Right? I'm not there anymore. It might be a little bit on a higher level, but I'm not going to be out on the street tomorrow. But that urgency, you have to figure out what you need to do for you to pay your bills, to have the life that you want to live, to do all of those things. When I was in that, I made 50 contacts a day when I was a brand new agent, because if I didn't, I was going to be in trouble. And it wasn't a choice. I did what I had to do to make a living and survive. And I still have big bills. I have bigger bills today probably than I in a whole year that is on a monthly basis is my bills anymore. Right. So I still have a lot of checkbook motivation that works for me, but you have to do what's going to work for you. And there are certainly days. Monday, I was fried because I had just hosted this giant block party. And I had a little more grace with myself on Monday. And I said, you know what? I am spacey. I'm exhausted. I was out in the sun. I got completely sunburned and I had no downtime on Sunday. But I paid for it on Monday. So I wasn't as sharp as I probably would have been. So I went home a little early because I needed that grace. But then I rested, got back on it yesterday and did all the things I needed to do yesterday because I can't afford to go for a long period of time without being back on it. So it's always important for me to get sleep, to do all these other things. You won't see me working at 8 o'clock at night because I don't sleep well if I do that. So I have to set up the rest of my life, but I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm not going to be 100% every time. And I don't beat myself up as much as I used to about it.
All right. Thank you.
Great stuff. Melinda, it's 1:12, so we're gonna to Fanny. I knew somebody was gonna catch that one, the checkbook motivation. So everyone, do yourselves a favor, do me a favor, do Melinda a favor, give her the round of applause that she deserves for taking the time off of her schedule to come in here and
you,
help us out. So
Melinda.
thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank you,
you,
thank you, thank
Melinda.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And referrals.